position, but these anchor legs really found a breakaway. And we're going to break onto our next event, getting right underway with the college men's distance medley relay. Will, last year, it might not have had the same platform as some of our championships of America, but I'm sure you can recall all of those teams that were in it. It was a 5-way battle down the home straightaway.
That was an unbelievable race, and that gives us a lot to look forward to today. And I want to see how some of these teams are. UMBC, I saw a lot of their parents at the hotel. They were really excited about this race, as was the Albany parents. So if we get anything that can replicate last year, Carson, this is going to be a dandy.
So you mentioned those two America East teams, UMBC and U Albany. I know U Albany won the 4x8 or placed highly in that event at America East's Conference Championships. So we've got some more good returners here, but it's the Providence Friars going out to the early lead. Little Big East battle, Providence, UConn, 1 and 2.
And you have to expect UConn to be here. They were in prime position last year, and they are right there in the second spot. All right, and UConn, as I said, Carson, they were some of the culprits in last year's race, and right there trailing their Big East partners, Providence. They're going 1-2, but this field is still in contact, but definitely lined out.
They were just outside of 130 at the opening 600 split, so could be making for something close to 3 minutes at the opening exchange. It's been all about the Friars thus far. Providence scheduled to lead off with Oliver Neat. George Washington, though, our defending champions, are lurking right there in second.
Yeah, you definitely do not want to count out George Washington. They are a real versatile team, and they have the leg speed, and they're turning it on right now. That still looks like Providence at the head. As we see 6 or 7 teams break away from the rest of the field, hitting the backstretch.
You look at some of the teams trying to challenge. Right there in the bright gold is Georgia Tech. But there goes Maryland in the white over red. The Terps, Joe Garzio, straight to the lead into the final 200 meters of this opening leg. The Hawks of St. Joseph's trying to follow, but can't get around GT thus far. The Yellow Jackets holding strong in the number 2 spot.
Yeah, the Yellow Jackets trying to keep pace there with Maryland. And they're going to try to go maybe on the outside here. We'll see what they have left. This is a short stretch, not your typical straightaway. But Maryland's going to hold them off.
Heading into the 400 leg, Georgia Tech with a better exchange, though, and coming through at 2:57, a nice negatively split opening 1,200 meter carry has got the Yellow Jackets in prime position on this one lapper.
And we saw the Providence lead leg almost do a Wimbayama, hit the track face first, not as bad. Hopefully he's okay. But Georgia Tech now on this 400 meter leg into the lead, catapulting past Maryland.
You got Maryland there in second, starting to lose a little bit of touch. Georgia Tech, Caden Terrell on this 400-meter scheduled carry. A lot of distance back to St. Joe's, Providence, UConn, and our defending champions, George Washington, who will want to give Michael Bolke some opportunity to run them home for another miraculous anchor, but they're in 6th. Yeah. There goes Georgia Tech.
And I obviously want to keep an eye on the local boys, St. Joe's. I know they fell a little bit behind on that 400-meter leg, but they are still in good position, as is Providence.
So flashing back to what we saw at the ACC Indoor Championships, Georgia Tech finished just outside of the top 10. A 9:48.51 for 11th in the Atlantic Coast Conference. I'd imagine they want to go faster and finish much higher in this race.
Absolutely, and as we saw in the girls' race, the 800-meter league is important. You can definitely improve on your standing or open your lead up, but you definitely lose it at the same time.
Maryland looking very comfortable directly behind Georgia Tech. You got Jack Kinraid on the schedule for the 800-meter carry. And he just seems completely in the zone right now.
Oh, yeah. Both of those runners are comfortable and relaxed. And we have not seen any of the runners from behind able to catch up. UConn is right behind St. Joseph, but that's Providence trying to close this gap on those first 2.
Providence was the early leaders, remember. They took that stick out pretty quick on the 1200 leg, and though they seem to have faded a little bit, they are still very much in this race, closing ground with Tom Breen. Albany as well. They're just ahead of the Princeton Tigers, who sit back in 7th as St. Joseph's moves up into 4th, but Maryland goes to the front.
Yeah, but that is a good response from Georgia Tech, because I thought Maryland was really finna open it up here, but here we go, shoulder to shoulder coming off the turn.
The Yellow Jackets stinging twice, but the Friars aren't going to let them go. Here we come into the final exchange of the college men's distance medley relay. It's going to be Georgia Tech,
and there's Providence, yes,
Maryland, St. Joe's, Albany, and UConn. Will.
Yeah, we talked about Albany, and that was a heck of an 800-meter leg, and their miler now is right in the thick of things.
Steve Hines on that 800-meter stick for the Great Danes out of the America East. Again, we mentioned to you just how dominant they were in that 4x800-meter relay. Just flashing it back to what we saw over at BU at the indoor championships. Albany, they were only 5th in the DMR, but in that 4x8, they took home the win with Steve Hines on the anchor. So a good guy to put in that position. It's going to be Jacob Smith. He's a solid anchor leg for Albany. He broke their 1,500 school record down at Florida Relays, or I believe it might have been USF. He ran a 3:42 either way. Wow,
and that's what you want on an anchor leg, because you have to be able to hold and withstand the pressure of this DMR on the 1,600-meter leg, and it is extremely critical to be tactical and aware of what's going on behind you as well as in front of you.
If the race were to end a lap from now, I'd imagine Albany could finish as high as 4th with UConn, and still St. Joe's directly in front of them. Providence is in with a shot at the win with Maryland and Georgia Tech.
I really do like Providence's positioning right now. They're just a hand's length or arm's length away from Maryland and Georgia Tech, but they are right there in the mix. They do have a little bit of a gap between them and St. Joe's, but they definitely don't want to fall in no man's land, which they're in danger of doing, but they are still in contact.
Now, we've been watching a lot of the moves being made by our runners, but I'm looking at the clock right now, Will, and really just the overall shape of this field. I feel like these DMRs thus far have been a little less tactical than we're used to them being.
Right, and we're used to it being more convoluted through the exchanges and through the middle of the races. We see that back in the middle of the race, but definitely not here up front, as Georgia Tech and Maryland are in danger of running away with this.
7:35 on the clock with 2 to go. Maryland starting to put on a little surge. Albany's lost contact with the 4-5 battle, and Providence still in between all of that. Leading our chase group, George Washington in 7th. So a repeat is highly unlikely at this point, nearly 100 meters back. Georgia Tech, Maryland, down the backstretch for the penultimate time.
Right, and just a lap ago I said I liked where Providence was at, but they have really fallen off. It is a 2-team battle here with Georgia Tech, the Yellow Jackets, just ahead of the Terrapins.
John Jessup, the anchor leg for Georgia Tech, hit a 1,500-meter personal record at his hometown Georgia Tech Invitational last week of 3:47.28. He's run 4:07 over a full mile, and thus far I'd imagine he's on pace for something a little quicker. I mean, he came to around 3:01 at the 1,200 split on this 1,600 leg, but he's going to have to fend off Mr. Calvin Kilgallen of Maryland.
Yeah,
bell lap.
I saw a little bit of surge right before the bell from him, and he looks to be carrying that. Is that enough to hold off? I mean, Maryland has been just trailing him for the entire race. Does he have enough to hold off?
By the numbers, Calvin Kilgallen has run 3:45 and 4:05 over a 15 and a mile, so quicker on paper, but on the day it is John Jessup. He's starting to really grit it down the final backstretch, taking a look over left shoulder into the final half lap. It's the Yellow Jackets.
Yeah, this looks really good from him right now. The turnover, you can see it. Now you can see it in the arms. He is not really tightening up, and he is opening up on Maryland.
John Jessup took the stick and took off. He has worn out all of his competitors. Providence finding a late rally, but it's too little too late for the win in the men's college DMR. Down the final stretch, the team that finished just outside of the top 10 at ACCs will blow away this field of 10+ at Penn. Georgia Tech stinging like the Yellow Jackets they are. 9:38.85.
Really impressive run there from Jessup Carson. You got to be able to handle the pressure. When you're in the lead, you think it's easy going, but you have people back there just watching every stride and really trailing or drifting off you. He was able to be strong. His endurance definitely showed, and he came away with the win.
Will, you heard me mention John Jessup's PR in the mile of 4:07. What was that anchor split of his?
4:03.
Wow. Incredible. He ran the race of his life today.